Ah, St. Valentine's Day, that quaintly commercial time of year when couples the world over must fork over untold sums of money to prove that they care about each other. And singles the world over must spend untold sums of money on enough alcohol to forget that it's Valentine's Day. And on this sweetest and romanticest of holidays, what wonders of virtual romance will our sweet, sensitive host be gifting to us?
Yeah, about that. See, this was going to be one of those half-hour-long episodes on, like, another 70 billion hour Otome game, but then shit happened. So much shit happened, to the point where we weren't even gonna do an episode for February. But I don't want to disappoint my massive fan base of 2 people, so once again, I'll be doing 2 mini reviews of 2 free Otome games. So hey, you at least have some Bishonen to sustain you for the next couple days. Yep, this is my Otome-Nia Valentine's gift to you. And, try not to choke on the chocolate or anything, right? So for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, here's the deal. Ren'Py is a free software development tool that allows amateur programmers to create their own visual novels. Every now and then, particularly when real life interferes and I need to crank out an episode of Otome-Nia in roughly 4 days, I take a break from reviewing big budget commercial games to take a look at a pair of indie games that were made with Ren'Py and that can be downloaded for free. First off, we have Autumn's Journey, a visual novel by Applecider conceptualized with NaNoWriMo in mind, but which ended up taking an entire year to develop and release. With good reason, as we'll talk about later. Autumn's Journey is set in Ishterra, a world where the elemental dragonkind have an uneasy coexistence with the humanoid heavenkind. Because, you know, they can't just say dragons and humans. This is a fantasy story. You play as Aurelie, a heavenkind whose mother was a famous adventurer and who longs to set out on her own epic quest of heroism. While patrolling the forest for monsters, she comes across a surly young man who claims to be an earth dragon trapped in heavenkind form. In order to regain his true powers, he'll have to travel to the dragon shrines and show his master that he has learned to understand the way of mortals. Well, that sounds like as good an excuse for an epic quest as any.
Characters Romance.
Kerr, the aforementioned Earth Dragon, who's really damned impatient to get back to being huge and reptilian. He's a crabby tsundere with a bad attitude and, say it with me kids, a heart of gold. I do want to point out, though, that he's very well written, and his crabbiness comes off more like a rude-ass older brother than outright assholery. Also, he's super cute. Ilmari, a doe-eyed daydreamer with an endless thirst for knowledge, who just shows up at the side of a lake early on and asks to accompany you for pretty much no reason at all. He's a water dragon, and, as Otome game regulations require, he's pretty much the polar opposite of Kerr. Rather than being crabby on the outside and sensitive on the inside, Ilmari is a guy who appears soft-spoken, shy, and maybe even a little bit of a crybaby, but gets pretty damn terrifying if you piss him off. All growly dragon voice and dragon powers. Even Kerr ends up being like, chill, dude. And that's it. Yep. Game's only got 2 dudes, although thankfully they're endearing enough that the trio of Aurelie, Kerr, and Ilmari make for a really entertaining dynamic. And with only 3 characters to worry about, none of them seem poorly fleshed out or tacked on at all. There's a nice, intimate dynamic here that doesn't seem trite or one-dimensional at all. Just 3 pals walking through the woods. Kinda reminds me of Spice and Wolf.
Gameplay.
Alright, look. Autumn's Journey is a fairly vanilla visual novel in terms of gameplay. No mini-games, no stat filling, no ridiculous mechanics that will leave you rushing to Google for the nearest walkthrough. You make choices, and depending on those choices, you get one of 3 endings. Kerr's ending, Ilmari's ending, or a platonic band of friends ending. And that's literally it. The choices are fairly intuitive. Pick the tough and violent option to get points for Kerr. Pick the intellectual option to get points for Ilmari. decide to be mean to one of the guys, or decide not to be mean to one of the guys. And if you maintain both guys at the same point level, then at the end, they flat out give you a tiebreaker where you choose right then and there which ending you want. Pick the neutral ending, and they both end up as really good friends. And other than the ending, the choices don't really affect the linear nature of the story that much. So, pick your favorite dragon, and hop on for an easy ride.
Presentation.
For a free visual novel, this game is utterly gorgeous. You can tell that extra year of development time after NaNoWriMo really paid off. Heck, I've seen plenty of commercial games that don't look half this nice. The art is bright, evocative, and polished to a professional degree, with everything just looking so damn pretty. The UI is elegant, the backgrounds are filled with depth and detail, and everything is just so nice to look at. I want to give a special little shout out to the chibis that are used sporadically in place of event CGs, because they are freaking adorable. The soundtrack is mellow, charming, and fantasy-esque, and gives the game a really cozy atmosphere. No real voice acting though, just the occasional "yeah" or "I'm sorry" for emphasis, not actually what any of the lines are. Doesn't take away from the quality of the game though. Heck, I didn't even want to bother mentioning it until Pathos told me I had to make the presentation section longer. Stupid Pathos.
Final thoughts.
This review's been pretty short, huh? Well, so is this fucking game! It's like, have you ever been to one of those fancy Korean bakeries where you pay $6 and they give you this handcrafted piece of awesomeness that's got like 4 types of imported chocolate and fresh raspberries and honey glaze drawn in the shape of a heart, and it's like maybe the size of a slightly large Oreo? Autumn's Journey's like that. The art is gorgeous, the writing is charming, and the whole package just exudes this wonderfully soothing sense of bright-eyed nostalgia, like the feeling you got reading fantasy novels as a teenager. This game will really transport you into its immersive world and fill your heart with sweet and fluffy feelings. For about 2 hours. Your first playthrough will probably take a little over an hour to finish, and skipping through the stuff you've seen to get the other 2 endings might take you 30 or 40 minutes. And then you'll be kinda sad, because you'll wish there was more time you could spend in Ishtera. But hey, the developers have been hinting for a while that they may eventually want to return to the setting, so who knows? In the meantime, let's take a look at our other free game. April Was a Fool, by indie RPG developer Dragonfly Dev, tells the tale of the 6 legendary heroes who once saved the world from the evil overlord. Except that thanks to a random dragon hunting mission gone wrong, they're now the 5 legendary heroes. And they're, not really so legendary anymore. Still reeling from the loss of their most vivacious member, the party is once again called upon to save the world from evil. You play as May, a rookie barmaid on her 3rd day on the job. And because Otome Games, you are a dead ringer for the 5 legendary heroes' deceased comrade. They take you along to meet the king, just so they don't have to admit the embarrassing truth that their friend got blown to bits by a random monster. And then, because you've always dreamed of being an adventuring badass swordswoman, you ask to go on their evil-slaying mission and help them along, even though you've never even picked up a sword or gone more than 3 steps from your hometown. Your presence, of course, leads directly to the hero's greatest triumph. Or their messy, gruesome, yucky, violent deaths! Anyway, let's get to the romance part.
Characters romance.
Owen Gates, the rogue. The self-appointed leader of the party is a silver-tongued charmer whose wits, words, and fingers all move with incredible precision. He's a shameless flirt who addresses you as "Milady," which you'll either find endearing or utterly nauseating. That said, his debonair demeanor hides some pretty nasty inner demons, including kleptomaniac tendencies and a self-loathing streak that's a mile wide. This boy is a mess, and while he may not be the most likable of the cast, he's just so damned interesting, like a tire fire or a train crash. It sure as hell ain't pretty, but you just can't look away. Blake Embers, the warrior. This chubby little carrot top is the only one of the legendary heroes who was there when hero number 6 kicked it, and as such, he's gone from being the party's inept but lovable low-level mascot character to getting blamed for her death and generally treated like a subhuman piece of shit. He can barely handle a sword, and has a tendency to go completely catatonic when things get dangerous, thanks to a debilitating case of anxiety and a nasty case of PTSD. But he tries so hard that it's impossible for me not to love him. And who knows, maybe with enough love and support, he can become the legendary hero that a certain ancient prophecy says he's destined to be. Gabby Embers, Blake's older sister. Yep, dateable girl route. She's a fire mage, and I'm really trying to come up with a snappy one-liner that doesn't use the word fiery, and I am failing miserably. So fuck it! All the fire puns! Gabby's a hot-headed firebrand of a woman whose main interests including dropping sick burns and setting things ablaze. Because some girls just want to watch the world burn. She's got a pretty short fuse, and when things rub her the wrong way, she can get pretty heated, with the main target of her scorching words being her doofy little brother. Behind Gabby's molten stare lies a fair amount of warmth, and her route contains a few of the game's steamier moments, to the point where I was pretty hot under the collar. What can I say? The girl's got one hell of an arse on her. Alright, I'm done. Kent Kenson, son of Kent. This half-pint berserker possesses inhuman strength, despite his short and skinny stature, and thus serves as the team's primary physical attacker, and occasional destroyer of major thick stone walls. When Kent's not busy going into a mindless, bloodthirsty rage and slaughtering everything around him, his main interests are politics, culture, and, staunch pacifism. Because Kent, believe it or not, is the most genial member of the party, who really just wants everyone to work hard and get along and stop, threatening to murder each other. In another story, he might even have been the group's leader, except that he suffers from some very unusual memory issues where he forgets large chunks of almost every mission the gang's been on. Also, is anyone else reminded of the little barbarian kid from the old Dungeons and Dragons cartoon from the 80s? Hell, did anyone else even watch that show? Gunrose, the priest. Those of you who've been watching this show for a while have probably guessed that this dude is the one I went for on my first playthrough, because I'm a raging old man-banger.
You actually didn't go for the girl route first this time?
Shut up, I went for the bar route this time. I went for the lesbian second. Besides, he might look 40, but he's only 25? Damn. Dude needs to, I don't know, exfoliate or something? Gunn is just the best in every way. He's big, he's burly, he likes to draw comics, he's a singer-songwriter, and the songs he writes are religious screaming death metal, hell yeah! He has a habit of waxing poetic at odd times about snapping bones and bursting organs, and how wonderful it'll be when he can heal his friends from the grievous bodily harm they're about to experience. It's creepy and morbid, and the other guys kinda sometimes wonder if he's all there, but it's really just his way of being a bro and trying to make himself useful. He feels kinda guilty for not being there to save his comrade way back when, after all. And finally, April Fool's, the dead one. Yes, her name is April, and your name is May. Ha ha, almost as funny as Gun Rose. While she never directly appears on screen, April is by far the most important character in the game. Her central place in all the characters' hearts reminds me in a way of the same role Rika played in Mystic Messenger, though more rash and stupid than outright manipulative. She was the glue who held the party together, by which I mean she was the one who handled all of their deep-seated psychological issues and kept them from literally killing each other in their sleep. And now that she's gone, whoo boy, do you have some leather fighting boots to fill.
Gameplay.
April Was a Fool is another fairly standard visual novel, with a simple affection mechanic that lets you know how much a given character likes you at any point in the story. One neat little touch is the addition of HP and MP counters, which fluctuate during battle scenes, depending on who's been casting spells, who's been knocked off balance, and who's moments away from kicking the bucket. Doesn't really mean anything, but it's a sweet little touch. There are a total of 11 endings, a good one and a bad one for each of the 5 routes, plus a special ending that pops up should you happen to have fucked up monumentally. Not surprisingly, the monumental fuck-up ending is by far my favorite.
Presentation.
Quick confession here. One of the main reasons I played April Was a Fool is because when I was looking for a free game for my last-minute emergency Otome-Nia, I saw a bunch of comments online that were like, this game looks like crap. How am I supposed to enjoy my fictional relationship simulator if it doesn't look like an A1 Studios anime? And suddenly my contrary streak kicks in, and I'm like, sod you, I am playing the hell out of this game. Honestly, I love how this game looks. It takes a couple of minutes to get used to the stylized and cartoonish art style, but all of the characters all have wildly different expressions, different body shapes and mannerisms, and each of their designs is so quirky and unique that it reminds me of something like Danny Phantom, or even that one mid-2000s Batman cartoon. Everyone just looks so damn huggable, especially the main character. Chubby girls need love too, you know. As for the music, well, it's hit and miss. Most of the music in this game is royalty-free stuff, mainly drawn from RPG Maker DLC packs and community albums, which means there's a fairly even mix of generic repetitive dreck and absolute bangers. Even the tracks which are pretty annoying are still appropriate for the events and locations they're accompanying. So it's not like the music is bad or anything, just kinda generic.
Final thoughts.
April Was a Fool is a game that totally blindsided me with just how much I enjoyed it. The art style's quirky, the characters are endearingly fucked up, and the whole thing just has this off-kilter anachronistic charm that is enchanting as hell. If Autumn's Journey is an artisanal gourmet tart, April Was a Fool is a cookie dough s'more on top of a milkshake with fries jammed into it. It may not be as pretty or as polished, but damn if I don't want to cram it straight into my mouth. It's just so interesting how the goofy tabletop parody antics and the early 2000s webcomic art style meshes and clashes with the dark and sometimes disturbing subject matter and everyone's deep emotional hang-ups. This is a kind of Otome game I didn't even know I wanted. But now, I can't get enough of it. I want to play a dozen or so games like this. If you want to experience the laid-back, heartwarming story of Autumn's Journey, or the bittersweet mishmash of tonal dissonance that is April Was a Fool, download links are in the description. I loved both of these games, albeit for very different reasons, and they're free, so go for it. And that's all we've got for our Valentine's 2 free games special, and while you're busy hunting down imaginary bishies, I'm about to spend 8 hours editing! Probably until 4 in the morning! Yay! I'm gonna die! Anyway, happy Capitalist Romance Day! Thanks for watching the episode, guys. If you want to check out more Otome-Nia, click the links above. On the left is Hakuoki, Demon of the Fleeting Blossom, and on the right is our New Year's special, Goja Show for Girls. And if you really like what we do here at Otome-Nia, consider checking out our Patreon so that we can bring you more bishies.